friend. Lobsang Sangay is a Tibetan legal scholar and politician. He became Sikyong, the equivalent of Prime Minister for the Tibetan government in exile on the 8th of August 2011. Dr. Sangay, welcome to BBC World News. So good to talk to you. What's happened this week is hugely symbolic for the obvious reasons, but what's your reading of the symbolism?
The symbolism is very important for Tibetan people and for justice around the world, because the President Barack Obama publicly acknowledged His Holiness Dalai Lama as his good friend, someone who stands up for justice and someone who believes in and practices compassion. So it's very kind of him to acknowledge His Holiness Dalai Lama in a public setting, which is in fact a prayer breakfast.
Do you understand why some people, particularly in Beijing, may be slightly rattled by that? Or to ask you the question in a different way, how do you calibrate the Obama approach towards the Dalai Lama? Because he is very sensitive to those images and how they will play in Beijing.
Well, Beijing, as normal, they are responding to something which is spiritual in nature and which is personal in nature, because President Barack Obama has met with His Holiness Dalai Lama several times now, and they are quite close as well. And Beijing need not be rattled, because Beijing is a country of 1.3 billion people in one of the largest economy and political power in the whole world. And what His Holiness Dalai Lama was engaged in was a prayer breakfast, which is spiritual in nature, and a day earlier he spoke to the same audience. So this is just a standard Beijing making some noise, but they should not be, because this is simply a spiritual matter, and His Holiness is recognized by people around the world, one of the most admired person and a great spiritual leader by the people like President Barack Obama and leaders around the world.
But the Chinese government might say it's got little to do with spiritualism. It's actually to do with politics.
I think they are politicizing a prayer breakfast, which is an annual event in Washington, D.C., where people who are concerned about spirituality and religious matters come. And His Holiness Dalai Lama was enthroned as a spiritual leader, and now he is the most revered spiritual leader in the Tibetan world, especially in 2011. He separated the church and the state. 400 years old institution of Dalai Lama, which used to have political authority, was devolved and handed over to my position. Now I am the political leader of the Tibetan people, and His Holiness has always been and continues to be a spiritual leader, most revered among the Tibetan people and by Buddhists around the world. So he is an admirer of and advocate of non-violent, peaceful method to resolve the issue of Tibet. So this is a win-win proposition for the Chinese government, and Beijing should not be threatened at all by His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Okay, how do you knock that win-win situation forward in a positive direction? Because I just want to play in some more VT that the BBC has obtained. I mean, there's been no formal talks between you and China as such since, what, 2010. We've obtained footage which shows Communist Party officials holding a direct meeting with the Dalai Lama in 2012. Is that a sign of things to come? And what can you do from your vantage point to take that in a positive direction?
Well, I think you are showing a footage of a Chinese businessman who claimed to have some contacts in Beijing, meeting with His Holiness Dalai Lama. Actually, people from mainland China do come to Dharamsala, or for that matter, wherever His Holiness Dalai Lama teaches, and business people and some Buddhist-leaning, business people and officials, ex-officials do come and engage in their personal capacity. So this is one of the incidents where it happened. So, as far as we are concerned, we are transparent. Whoever we meet, whether we meet Chinese or Americans or British or anyone for that matter, we always say we are open and we are transparent. as far as our policy is concerned, which is middle way, which is to seek genuine autonomy within the framework of the Chinese constitution. So we are not seeking separation from China, but we are seeking autonomy within China. So this is a win-win proposition for the Chinese government, and they should take this opportunity and engage in dialogue with the envoys of the Dalai Lama as they have done before 2010.
Not wishing to oversimplify what you've just said, but you seem to be basically saying that if you keep on talking, the Chinese government has to accept what you want, because on the one hand, the relationship is as it is, but looking at it from a different perspective, it can be a very negative, a very violent relationship sometimes as well. We've seen that just in the past 3 or 4 years too.
Yes, unfortunately in Tibet, 135 Tibetans have burned themselves, committed self-immolation, which is a very painful form of death, and this is in fact a desperate but a determined act on the part of Tibetan people, including the third generation Tibetans who are teenagers also, and that what they're saying is occupation of Tibet is unacceptable and repression of Tibetans is unbearable. And hence, His Holiness Dalai Lama sincerely believe, and we do believe, that through dialogue, through peaceful means, we can resolve the issue of Tibet on a win-win proposition, and middle way is the way forward for the Chinese government and the Tibetan people. This is our stand.
With all due respect to you, sir, and the job that you have, the Dalai Lama is more high profile than you are. How do you maintain that momentum if he does what he's hinted he might do, which is in effect put together the jigsaw pieces that mean the 14th Dalai Lama, i.e. this Dalai Lama, is the last Dalai Lama?
Well, His Holiness Dalai Lama has given interviews where he has said he could be the last Dalai Lama, but that is a natural reaction. As a monk, one cannot be promoting oneself. But at the end of that, every statement, he always says it is for the Tibetan people to decide whether to have the next Dalai Lama or the 15th Dalai Lama. And I, on behalf of the Tibetan people, can categorically say that we would like to see the 15th Dalai Lama to be there. But at the moment, 14th Dalai Lama is very healthy, very robust, and hence he is going to live for a very, very long time. And when the time comes, we will be prepared to have even 15th Dalai Lama, and Tibetan movement will move forward. As far as my position is concerned, which is political in nature, I am the democratically elected leader of the Tibetan people, and in my position, we will continue with our democratic setup and democratic institutional mechanism like a democratic system anywhere in the whole world. So we are very proud to have democratic system which has more legitimacy than the Chinese occupation of Tibet and Chinese leaders in Tibet.
But because of what the Dalai Lama's central message always is, and because of the way he delivers that message, can I suggest to you that you need him perhaps more than he needs you? It's a symbiotic relationship, but you've got to keep that blend on the go all the time.
Yes, for the matter, because of his greatness, because of his popularity, Tibet issue has gotten support around the world. And as I said, he is very healthy, he is going to live very long, so he is going to be there for a long time. And we will also have the 15th Dalai Lama. So 15th Dalai Lama will be there. We Tibetans will recognize the 15th Dalai Lama, and my position will also continue to be there.
The relationship between yourself, between Tibet and Beijing, always seems tinderbox dry. It always seems on the cusp of more negativity, of more violence, perhaps, if you will. What are your main fears when it comes to the situation in Tibet, with particular reference to human rights?
Now, as far as you can see, we have been very positive. We don't want to add anything negative to the relationship. Hence, we are advocating peaceful, non-violent means. We are advocating dialogue to resolve the issue of Tibet on a win-win proposition. So we have been as positive, as moderate, as reasonable as one can be. Unfortunately, because of the repressive policies of the Chinese government, the hardline policies in Tibet is for there to see. in all kinds of human rights violations are taking place. You cannot have the picture of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The environmental destruction that is taking place is very rampant. Recently we hear news that 15, most likely Tibetan officials who are working for the Communist Party are arrested for allegedly being pro, His Holiness the Dalai Lama or pro-Tibetan culture. All these are excuses to get rid of good Tibetans, even though they are Communist Party members. So negativity and repression has always been from Beijing side, not from us.
And Dr. Sangay, briefly, sir, when you see the President of the United States of America clasping his hands together and bowing his head, as we discussed, the symbolism is huge. But as a Tibetan, not as a Prime Minister, as a Tibetan, when you see the US President doing that, what goes through your mind at that point?
Tremendous respect for the President of America, Barack Obama. He's also a Harvard alum, so I'm proud to associate with that. And to show the most powerful person in the whole world that much respect to His Holiness the Dalai Lama means a lot to Tibetans around the world. It sends a message of hope to Tibetans inside Tibet who are repressed. It sends a message of justice and truth to all those people around the world who are seeking and fighting for their cause. So it means a lot to us.
Dr. Sangay, good to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.